So let me get that going.
Can you repeat how to connect to this?
Yeah, so you need to open another tab or a browser if you don't have one open, and then actually go to joinpd.com. Yeah. And then once you're there, enter the code and allow for the Google sign-on, and you'll be good. Yeah, I wish we could just like link it and I could let you click on the link, but it does make you open it in a separate browser, so kind of a bummer there.
Can you put the code in the chat box, please?
Sure thing. NYTJR.
Thank you.
You're so welcome.
How exactly do I exit Zoom to get onto another website?
You should be able to minimize it or click escape key, and that should minimize it for you, but it won't kick you out of the room.
Okay.
Hi, welcome Paige. So for anybody else that's struggling, you need to open another browser or another tab if you're in the browser and go to joinpd.com and then enter that code on the screen or in the chat box, NYTJR, and that's going to open the slideshow for you so that you can comment on the things as we're going, and it makes it a little more interactive, but that way you're also not broadcasting your answers out to everyone, because I know sometimes you can be a little bit shy. So got a few people in there. We're just waiting for a couple more people to get in. Awesome. Welcome, Dylan. Which I apologize, I haven't gotten welcome calls out to everyone yet. I've called most of you. There's just a lot of people in this class, and turns out I can't be calling y'all at midnight, so I have to do it in the daytime. So I'm still working my way through. But if I haven't welcomed you via phone, please know that you are still welcome.
I'm trying to join PD, but the only thing that's coming up is a website called Pear Deck.
That's it. That's what the PD stands for.
Oh.
You're in the right place.
Okay.
Can we do it on our phones and like look it up?
Yeah, you can do it on your phone if you do the same thing. It works on mobile devices.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. And okay, some of us are still getting in, which is excellent, but for those of you that are in now, we can go ahead and get started a little bit. So welcome, welcome. If you've got the screen up, you've got texting options, you can write right there. If you're still getting in, that's fine. But go ahead and tell me what your name is and tell me one thing that's interesting about you. And that interesting about you can be very subjective. So it might be something that you think is really interesting and cool about you, or maybe something that we would find interesting. Welcome to Rain, who just came in.
I have another question.
Yes.
Do I have to make an account for it?
No. Once you go to the joinpd.com or Pear Deck, there should be a place to enter the class code.
Okay. Where would that be?
I'm just gonna show you right here. You do have to allow it to sign in with your Google. So if you're looking at the share screen, that's what I've got projected up right now. And then you just enter the class code. Okay. So it should come up to a screen like this. And it's NYTJR. So for everybody, there's still a couple people that are still getting in. So if you go to joinpd.com and enter the code, you can see the slides. If you can't get in, it's okay. You can still follow along with us and just put your comments in the Zoom chat, but it's kind of nice to have the Pear Deck slides to follow on. Okay. If you're not super familiar with Zoom, you've got a lot of control over your screen. So if you don't see the chat box up right now, if you click on the more on that black top bar, it'll open the chat box for you. You can ask questions that way. And everybody should be able to turn their mics on. You're welcome to turn your cameras on so I can see you. You can see my cameras on so you can see me. I look like this. This is me. It's nice, okay? Oh, okay. Oh, you guys are interesting. Sophia, I thought I was going to get a ukulele for Christmas. Like, I 100% thought that's what my husband was giving me. And it was not. It was a lightsaber that is like a spatula for making cookies, but it looks like a lightsaber, which is still pretty cool, but not the ukulele I thought I was going to get. So, a little bit disappointed, but still really excited. You're cool. I love being able to read a little bit about you guys. Oh, okay, A-Train. I was curious the history of the name, but that is super cool. Huh. Abby is cool. That is interesting. And Malik, is that how you pronounce your first name? Is Malik? Am I getting it wrong? Okay, you're telling me right now. Perfect. Paige, you're cool. We talked yesterday. Dance and music. Jaden. Basketball, YMCA. Aiden is into archery. Aiden, we talked this morning for a second. Luke likes to draw. This is a good class for you. Okay. Welcome, Athena. Happy to have you. We are looking at some slides and commenting on them. So if you want to join us, you just need to open a new tab and enter class code. So you go to joinpd.com and then enter the code. Kaylin, I love gazing at stars. I just moved, for anybody who doesn't know, I live in California and I'm from Idaho. And that is honestly the one thing that I miss the most about living in California is that I cannot see the stars enough because there's too much light pollution. So, I'm jealous of your stargazing. Hey, Emma, welcome. I love stars in space, by the way. And one thing that's kind of interesting about me is that I got to meet Buzz Aldrin last year. It was really, really cool, which is why I'm smiling so big that my face looks like it's going to break. He was super nice. He liked my dress, which is embarrassing because my dress is really, really nerdy. You can see that it's got planets on it.
You're surrounded by nerds.
Okay, good. This is a safe place. I just wanted to open with that. This is a safe nerd place. Just love, I don't know. I think if you love something, you should just be allowed to love it with all your heart. And I love space. I think it's super cool. I'm a big nerd. And so meeting Buzz Aldrin was awesome because he looked in my face and talked to me about walking on the moon. And it was possibly one of the most exciting moments of my whole life. So it was very cool.
I hope one day that there's like a hotel in outer space.
I would super stay there. I would go. I was telling my husband this the other day, like if there was do you guys remember hearing about the biosphere? You could live in like this enclosed spaces in Arizona for doing science research.
I remember.
Okay.
I heard about it last year.
Yeah, super cool. But you had to live in it for like 2 years or something. Like you couldn't leave. But if they had that on Mars or something, I would totally do that. And he told me I had to go by myself, that he wouldn't come. But if like there was a fly to Mars thing, but you had to be completely isolated for like 1.5 years to do it, I would so do that. That would be amazing. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Kayla can't hear anything, so I just wanted to put that in the chat real quick. So yeah, you guys are awesome. Okay, there we go. Sorry, I get a little distracted reading all your comments at once. Yeah, the biosphere is really cool. I heard they still do tours there. This is like in Tucson, so maybe cool to check it out. What do you guys hope to learn in this class? What's your personal goal?
Good question.
Love that you guys were using the mics, by the way, and talking. My class this morning, they wouldn't turn their mics on or their camera. I mean, they had their cameras on, but nobody got on mic, and it made me feel a little isolated, like a crazy person talking to myself. It's cool.
Yeah, that's a common thing in this
Yeah, I heard.
environment.
Yes, definitely. I mean, I get it. It's, sometimes you just want to be the observer. Sometimes you don't want to participate, and that's cool, and we respect that. But sometimes it's nice to be in on it. Sometimes you want to know a little bit more.
I didn't realize my my webcam thing was on.
Oh, we can see you, Athena. And by the way, it's nice to see you again. You are actually in my class now.
Hi, Athena. I look forward to seeing you in Mythology Club.
Oh, it's fun to see all of you. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Athena. I didn't mean to cut you off.
I was just saying how much I love mythology.
I knew that about you because you're super cool. Yeah, you guys are welcome to turn your cameras on. When you first sign in, you should automatically be on mute with your camera off, and then you have the option of turning them on once you're ready. So it shouldn't surprise you. Okay, good, Michaela. Glad to hear you're on. Well, I love that you guys want to learn more about the history, because obviously we're going to be doing that. It's in the name of it. We'll pick up right where you guys left off at Baroque, and a little bit of that in the first unit. For those of you that haven't started, which by the way, I'm super impressed with how many people have already started on the next unit, will be about neoclassicism. So we'll work chronologically, but we're going to get up to modern and start looking at those things, and also hope to put a little bit of a spin on it about how it impacts cultures. Because when you look at art history, like the older stuff, anything that's really pre-Middle Ages, the impact is really hard to get on a personal level because it's so culturally significant. We're looking at those religious aspects. We're looking at what it's saying about the society. But once you get more modern, closer to the modern era, we can start to look at it on kind of a more
as the experience of the individual.
Exactly. So let's talk a little bit refresher in some ways, maybe a new twist, but what is art? And what is art history?
In the previous
Sorry. You can go first.
all right. In the previous semester, art was defined as the expression of experiences and as a form of communication. But after going through the neoclassicism unit, I'm not quite sure that definition still holds, because they seem to, part of neoclassicism was the lack of emotion and expression. And that seemed to really cut down on that given definition of art.
Ooh, interesting turn. I like how you've taken it that way, because neoclassicism was kind of coming away from that emotional part, but it's still expressing those ideas. So it would still fall under that category of art, but I like how you're looking at it so particular. Dylan, I love your answer in the chat that art is everything, that it could be this encompassing idea. It definitely has to do with the idea of expressing something. And so if it's not emotional, perhaps it could still be presenting values or an ideology. Emma, that's a great answer, how people express their feelings. So these are two of the definitions from the unit very much at the beginning. And I just put them back up here to kind of bring them back into our mind, that when we talk about art, and if you hadn't noticed, you can just drag the blue dot, which matches art, to the definition you think art goes with, and drag that red dot, which matches value, to the definition that goes with. So a bunch of you've got that sorted out. But the definition from the lesson is the expression of ideas, feelings, and values in a perceived form. And I like that it emphasizes that perceived form, because it doesn't have to be visual. Obviously, we're going to be looking at visuals because we're going to be looking at paintings, and sculptures are going to sneak in there. But art can be, like you said, Dylan, everything. It could be music. You guys got Athena's up there in the chat. It could be writing. It can be literature. It can be story. It can be drama. It's a way of expressing ideas, feelings, and values in a way that other people can perceive and receive them. Awesome. Well, a little more of the definition clarification. If we look at the past, the value of art was really defined in these 5 categories. So go ahead and drag the dots to match up the definitions again to what goes with. But you talked at, and we looked at a little bit of the religious value, the aesthetic value, the social value, the historical value, the economic value. Of these 5 values, moving forward, getting closer to the modern era, what do you think we're going to see more of?
Aesthetic value, most likely, and probably social value. Maybe more economic value, but I don't know. It seems to me that people in modern times, art evolved to be more for the people than for the value, because I know that art was commissioned a lot, especially in the Baroque period, and still in the neoclassicism and Romanticism.
Yeah, exactly. And that commissioning still happens on some levels, but it's not like there aren't the Medicis anymore paying to have artists. Florence doesn't really exist. This idea that wealth and privilege buys you the right to create art, that kind of has gone away. And so because of that, we do see that it's a lot more personally motivated on the part of the artist. So I would definitely agree with that, that it comes down more to like the aesthetic. That we see a lot of aesthetic, a lot of social value, economic value, not quite as much because it's not reflecting societies. You look at like the Colosseum or the Colossus of Rhodes, those are reflecting the wealth of that society. It's not really reflecting the individual, and we're going to look more at individuals. It's kind of taking that turn. So good work on the definitions. We're kind of all over, but you guys have them nailed down as far as where they go. The art that expresses a cultural belief is going to be that social, the nation or the time period is historic. The impact of work on our senses, the aesthetic. Monetary value would be economic. And then a work of art that represents an important social issue or social value would be social value. So good job there. And just one more, I promise this is my last definition page, but I just wanted to kind of see where you guys were at and what you remembered about these elements of art. So when we're looking at them and we're acknowledging it, these are some of the terms that get brought up a lot in recognizing what the artist is doing or what it's saying. So I just wanted to revisit them real quick. So emphasis, symmetrical balance, unity, variety, and then asymmetrical balance. You want to just grab your dot and match up the terms real quick. Of the eras that you guys studied, what was everybody's favorites? What stood out the most? Ooh. Greek, the Baroque era. They're good. I think, yeah, Greek's got 2 votes. Really just kind of a personal preference thing, but there's some cool stuff you got to look at. Egyptian art, Roman. If you like Greek art, just wait till the Romans get here. Ancient Romanticism, Greek art. Yeah, the Greek art's really interesting, and the relationship between them is super fun.
Is that a dog?
Athena, shout out to the cave art. Shout out to the cave paintings. They are...
What about the ancient monuments, like the ziggurats and the cathedrals? Those were awesome.
I mean, architecture is just art that you get to live in, so let's not forget them. Thanks for bringing them back up.
And there's
Yeah.
this
I remember
one
there are 2 rules for cathedrals, height and light.
Mm-hmm.
That's my favorite thing to remember in art history.
That's good. I like the rhyming with it. Somebody else was about to say something and I couldn't hear.
It's me. So I got to go with my friends and have fun with them, and I got to go to a art museum with them, and there was this cool, you go into blacked out room, and then all of a sudden you see these lights everywhere, and it's like 3D, and it looks like glass everywhere, but you're like standing in glass, but you're not.
Wow.
That sounds awesome. Height and light right there.
Yeah.
Whoa, that's cool.
I don't think I've ever heard of the Denver Art Museum doing something like that.
That sounds awesome.
It was like in a room. So it was like, I think it was in Phoenix.
Cool. Well, here, tailing onto that, what do people like about art? I mean, you guys pointed out some of the things that you liked and that impact you, but what do people like about art? What makes art impressive?
That it looks good.
Colors, maybe?
Okay. So the visual, the colors, the aesthetic.
Yeah. Sometimes a show of skill, and sometimes the complete rebellion against our belief that art needs skill to be good.
Oh, I love it, because that's kind of going to go into a little bit where we're going today, but also somewhere else we want to go, like the let's see, what do I want to say? Because that was awesome. How it's said, like how the art is made, like the skill that goes into it, and definitely looking at like the Renaissance and classicism, you can see the evolution of the skill and the style, but also there's the idea that that skill isn't the full thing of the meaning. Like how you interpret it, how you view it, how it impacts people doesn't have to be the world's most realistic drawings to be the most impactful. Yeah, so who decides what it means also, by the way? And shout out to Michaela in the chat. Freedom of expression. That's a huge reason why people love art, is because it allows them to express themselves.
And yet people loved art when they commissioned it.
As a viewer loving art.
I think the person that defines art is the creator. I think that the viewer or the audience can define their own interpretation, but I think that when, the creator is employing freedom of expression, they create the art for a purpose. They choose the meaning.
I agree with A-Train. Like with Banksy's art, he one of his art pieces is like with the girl with the red balloon, and it's like saying like how you hold on to the childhood that you have grown up with and stuff. Like, don't give it up. Like when you are growing up, like as a teen.
Yeah, and yet it could be interpreted in other ways. Like one might see maybe letting go of romance because of the heart, right? So
or happiness.
Precisely. So there's different interpretations, but it's the intention that defines the meaning of the art.
Yeah, and I looked it up the other day, and it says it doesn't. So the meaning of that art piece, it's like the meaning of like, don't give up all of your childhood, and that's what's the meaning of it.
Art is also interpreted by the viewers too.
Yeah.
Some art is made for anyone who sees to interpret it in their own way.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Oh, you guys are awesome. I love the diversity of the opinion, and it's in the chat and also in your individual responses here, this idea that the artist decides, no, the viewer decides, no, it's anyone's opinion. That's actually what I wanted to share with you next.
And if we keep debating it then?
Oh, no, I just want to give you more fuel to the debate. Yeah, so this is a quote from Georgia O'Keeffe, who's a 20th century American painter, and she's well known for her flowers. And in the middle, you can see as one of her more well-known, but she also gets into some really cool abstracts, which I put on the side. But she said, "You may write about my flower as if I think and see what you think and see, and I don't." And she very much rejected that idea of the artist having the full influence. She was very she very much hated the way that people viewed her art and would talk about it and say, oh, this is what she's painting about, this is what she's saying. And she's like, no, this is what I'm saying. Like, I'm the artist. I should have a say. You should, like, I know what I meant to say. But it's this argument comes up again of, well, but I'm the viewer and I know what you want me to see. And so it's this argument. So I actually have a TED Ed video I wanted to show you guys, and that will kind of fuel it up a little bit more. Emma and Athena, That's No Moon. It's my nerdy spoofness off. There's a really famous Dadaism painting that's of a pipe, but then it says that is no pipe. But
I remember that.
Yeah, this one right here. Yeah, the real one is with the pipe, but my nerdness had me put the Death Star. But we'll definitely start to get into Dadaism later.
I recognized it. Me and my dad are Star Wars nerds.
Nice. Well, if you guys
recognized
you recognized it? That's awesome. Well, I've got this little video. Are you guys cool if I show it to you? It's like about 6 minutes long.
Yes.
Sure.
Okay,
Sure.
cool. If you are on Pear Deck, you actually have to toggle back to the Zoom share screen so you can see it, because otherwise you'll just hear it. Let me get it up. And then can somebody give me a thumb up in a second so I make sure that the audio is working, because it wasn't working earlier. I just want to make sure we've got it right. There's no audio yet, but now. Nope. Okay.
There was a little something, and
A
then
little something? Okay. Let's try it now.
wow.
Now?
I hear a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of like this.
Imagine you and a friend are strolling through an
Oh,
art
yes.
exhibit and a striking painting catches your eye. The vibrant red appears to you as a symbol of love.
Audio.
In a romantic
And
style.
yeah, it's out.
Left.
But you can kind of figure out what's going on by the very entertaining visuals.
Yeah, I can tell too.
No, it's still pretty quiet. Can you start it over?
Do you enjoy it less now that you know the truth? Just how much did the artist's intention affect?
Gone.
Yeah. Can't hear it very well. It goes in and out.
History critic W.K. Windsor
back.
and philosopher Monroe Beardsley argued that artistic intention was irrelevant. They called this the intentional fallacy, the belief that valuing an artist's intentions was misguided. Their argument was twofold. First, the artists we study are no longer living.
Okay, let me try and switch it real quick because it should be coming through like normal and it was being a weirdo this morning. So let me try real quick. Sorry. I want you to have all the facts so you can debate better. Okay. Stop share. Okay, we're gonna try again. Better?
No.
Yes,
Better?
definitely.
Okay.
You can hear from the audio that it's a TED Talk.
Imagine
Not
you and
just
a
the
friend
type.
are strolling through an art exhibit and a striking painting catches your eye. The vibrant red appears to you as a symbol of love, but your friend is convinced it's a symbol of war. And where you see stars in a romantic sky, your friend interprets global warming-inducing pollutants. And to the internet, the painting is a replica of the artist's first-grade art project. Color and the silver dots now know the exact intentions that led to the creation of this work. Are you wrong to have enjoyed it as something that the artist didn't intend? Do you enjoy it less now that you know the truth? Just how much did the artist's intention affect?
It's going in and out again.
Yeah.
He's thinking they're going to do it.
In the 20th century, UK and philosopher Monroe argued artistic was relevant. They called this the intentional fallacy, the belief that valuing an artist's intention was misguided. Their argument was twofold. First, the artist's intention was delivered, never recorded their intention, or simply unavailable answers about their work. Second, even if there were a bounty of relevant information, there would have been
Yeah, I can't really hear it anymore.
when you taste a pudding, the chef's intention don't affect Windsor and Beardsley's logic, the artist's interpretation of her own work would just be one among many equally acceptable possibilities. If you find this problematic, you might be more in line with Stephen Knapp, two literary theorists who
What if everyone just muted themselves?
Maybe that would work.
Work. Okay, let's try it.
For example, suppose you're walking along a beach and come across a series of marks in the sand that spell out a verse of poetry. Knapp and Michaels believed the poem would lose all meaning if you discovered these marks were not the work of a human being, but an odd coincidence produced by the waves. They believed an intentional creator is what makes the poem subject to understanding at all. Other thinkers advocate for a middle ground, suggesting that intention is just one piece in a larger puzzle. Contemporary philosopher Noel Carroll took this stance, arguing that an artist's intentions are relevant to their audience the same way a speaker's intentions are relevant to the person they're engaging in conversation. To understand how intentions function in conversation, Carroll said to imagine someone holding a cigarette and asking for a match. You respond by handing them a lighter, gathering that their motivation is to light their cigarette. The words they use to ask the question are important, but the intentions behind the question dictate your understanding and ultimately your response. So which end of this spectrum do you and Beardsley believe that when it comes to art, the proof should be in the pudding? Or do you think that an artist's plans and motivations for their work affect its meaning? Artistic interpretation is a complex web that will probably never offer a definitive answer. Did you know that?
Okay, so did that add more fuel to the ideas and the argument? Sorry about the weird audio, but with that, so there are different actual theories about what to view and how to view it and what it means. So what do you guys think? Do you agree? Do you disagree?
I think that the stance that sort of finds a middle ground is the most accurate. I think that the artist's intentions are extremely important, especially when their intentions have a special or significant meaning or are trying to convey a message. But I think that to the individual, just the individual viewer, then the art doesn't necessarily you don't necessarily have to agree with the interpreter's intentions or the meaning they find in their own art, because at some point the art belongs to the individual viewer. If they decide it has a certain meaning to them or a certain significance in their life for their own reasons, that's okay, and it may not define the art itself or how the art is seen by society or the artist. But I think that the definitions exist, and I just think that when talking about a wider audience, the intentions of the creator gain significance, but when it comes down to the individual viewer, then the art sort of becomes their own.
That is well said, A-Train. And example you guys were giving with the Banksy art is a good example of that. Like Banksy says, this is what it means. But if you like it and it means something else to you, if that balloon is love or hope or cinnamon flavored candy and you're giving it up and that is meaningful to you, then don't you as a viewer like still have the right to feel and to view that? So just a recap from the video, there's two extreme sides kind of on this, and that's Wimsatt and Beardsley, which you don't have to remember their names, but they are argued that you should only value the art, like what it says, what it looks like, that's what it is, and nothing else really matters. But then on the other extreme is Knapp and Michaels, and they're saying that you need to align your view with the artist. If Banksy says that that's your childhood, then that's your childhood. Like, that's what it is, and nothing else matters. And so there's like these two extremes. And A-Train, you hit on it, that like, for most of us, we're kind of in the middle on how we interpret it. Like, I appreciate what the artist is saying, but I like it because this is what it means to me. Go ahead.
I was just adding a little. But, like, I guess another way to think of it would be like, some people use the butter knife to actually spread the butter, and some people use it to tap on the sides of lids to make them open, right? So there are different uses, different values for different things for different people.
Yeah, different value, different uses, still the same butter knife, just can be used different ways. From this, if you're not looking at the share screen, I've got a couple of questions up, and if you're signed into the Pear Deck, there's still some questions you can answer there too. But like if you were analyzing poetry, the extremists like Wimsatt and Beardsley, they would say the only thing you should consider is the poem, like the meter of the poem. That's what you should consider. And even if Robert Frost told you this is what it means, doesn't matter. It's what the poem says. Like they're on that extreme side. But then there's the other guys, which is not this question, this one, Knapp and Michaels, and they say no, like you need to take a little different view. So the example is if you're walking through an art gallery and you see a painting of the Garden of Eden, you think it's the Garden of Eden and you research it and you find out that it's actually the author's backyard. What should you do with your view? How should you reconcile those differences?
I think that the first extremist view kind of is a little short-sighted because the intentions and efforts of the artist, that's what creates the art in the first place. And when you just look at the art and you completely disregard the efforts of the artist, then you're going to lose some of the meaning and you're going to have a difficult time analyzing it, analyzing symbolism or aesthetic value, because you're disregarding a sort of portion of, well, the art itself.
Yeah, that you're not taking it all into account. They mentioned it in the video, and it doesn't matter that the author was this guy Noel Carroll, but he talks about the relationship of art, and he compares it as a relationship between who? What would you say? I mean, A-Train, you've hit on it. Jaden, you mentioned it a minute too. I think Athena did as well, but what's the relationship between the artist and the viewer most similar to?
An opinion?
Kind of opinion can be part of it. Yeah, there's not like a hard fact. In a lot of ways, it's just the relationship between a listener and a speaker. The speaker can be saying something and know exactly what they're saying, but that doesn't guarantee that that's what the hearer is getting. Have you ever been in a situation with someone, perhaps one of you is angry, and what you're saying isn't exactly what they're hearing or what you think you're saying? And even though
language barrier.
Yeah, it's the language barrier or just an intention misunderstanding. So it's kind of that give and take of between a listener and a speaker, between those ways we communicate. There's this idea of an intention fallacy, that if you only look at what the author says, if you only look at what the artist says, you could be missing some of the points. What could be some of the consequences of only looking at what the author says the piece is about? If you only know what the artist says, what could be some problems with that?
I think this comes a lot not in visual art, but in music. Like, if you do a lot of research on the music, if you learn what the artist was going through, what his or her intentions were, then when you try to play the piece, you're not going to relate to it. I think it's better to first explore the piece and play it, and then learn the artist's intentions and see how you can incorporate that into your piece after you learn how to relate to it.
And
Yeah.
should people have their own opinion, like for different artists and their paintings? The artist could have a say in the painting, but as the viewer, they could have a totally different opinion about it. And if I was an artist, I would say, who cares? They're gonna say what they're gonna say, and the whole point is that I did my best, and this is how I think of it, and that is how they think of it. So, yeah.
Athena, your point reminds me of a exploration or a class exploration I did in 4th grade, where we each made our own art pieces, and we just left them up to the parents and other people to just interpret as they will. And I did a dragon putting a present under a Christmas tree on top of a cake.
That's awesome.
Yeah, well, no, it was like the cake was the medium, but it was like the interpretations. I got so angry because they said, dragons should not be giving, dragons should not be generous, dragons are known as, greedy, malicious creatures, and I got really angry.
Not a My Little Pony, it doesn't.
The thing is, I think that an artist does have a right to send a message through their art, and that even though it's important for the viewer to have an interpretation, I think that the artist should not be pushed around by those opinions.
Yeah, I like it. That goes well with what Michaela said in the chat about recognizing what inspired the piece and how that can influence it. And Kennedy, what you're saying right now in the chat spot right there about knowing the intention. But it can help us enjoy, but if we rely too much on others' interpretation, it can take it away from us. So as we get closer to modern art, we're going to know more about the artist. It's going to be available. There's going to be records of what they were doing, what they were saying. And so finding that balance and I appreciate this because it's beautiful and it looks like this and I like it, rather than relying 100% on what the artist says it is, but keeping those in mind as a wonderful dragon artist, A-Train, you can understand when the interpretation is far from your intent, that can be really frustrating. But also, maybe someone learned an important lesson about being generous despite their stereotypes. You probably inspired a lot of people in the 4th grade. Everybody's different. Well, those are all the points I wanted us to hit in our lesson today, and we are actually at time. It's been 45 minutes, which is awesome. I am super excited to have you all here and in class. I'm going to turn you loose for the rest of the day and the weekend to get to work. Just a couple of housekeeping business things. Big emphasis this term on knowing what week you're in on your PACE guide. So obviously we're in week 1, and there's headers in the lessons that this is what you need to do week 1, this is what you do week 2. So hopefully we can all stay on pace a little bit better. If that was a struggle. So if you have questions about the assignment, you're not sure what to do, anything looks weird, please contact me anytime. My cell phone and my email are on the home page. I love to hear from you guys. I love questions. I love to explain stuff. So don't hesitate to let me know if something's not making sense to you or is being weird, because that's my job and I really love my job. So let me do it, okay? All right, any questions right now?
No.
No, good?
I have a question.
All right.
Can we please do more debates like this every lesson?
We can try. Art is open to interpretation, and we can try and get some opinions. Michaela, I am psyched that you came, even if it didn't start for you until next week, and you are super cool. And so just pay attention to what week you are on, because there's some people that'll be starting with you next week. So I'm glad you came anyways. You guys are awesome. I'll try and get some more debates. Any other questions? Anything else I can help with today?
you know about the artist with the flowers? How come she was so angry about what other people thought that she was trying to say?
Well, you know how angry A-Train was about one dragon? She was angry about like 300 paintings. So just, yeah.
Well, yeah, because I got angry because people were disregarding their message. I felt that they were insulting me by closing their minds.
Mm. We don't want that. We want open minds. Open minds when we're looking and studying, okay? All right, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much. I'm going to be here for a few minutes if you have more questions, but otherwise, bye, and you're amazing, and I'll see you next week.
Bye, thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.
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 Bye.